Welcome to our Wednesday night course spotlight session. I'm Kathy Lawson, Chief Knowledge Officer of the Great Discovery. Always a pleasure to host this because I love to learn. And so, when we get to hear from our great course creators, it's all about learning and sharing that knowledge with others. So tonight it's going to be no different. I'm excited to hear from John Gates. I'm going to go ahead and read his biography. It's very impressive. So John is the author of the international best-selling book, Act Your Wage, which I love that title. He's the founder of the Salary Coach Academy and a recognized expert in low-stress pay negotiation. With 30 years as a top recruitment executive for Fortune 500 companies, John has overseen over 75,000 offer negotiations and trained hundreds of recruiters. As an insider, he knows the politics and pressure behind pay discussions and is now on a mission to share secret strategies with job seekers that lower risk to almost zero. John helps 6, 7, and 8-figure earners to safely maximize their job offers and lifetime earning potential. So tonight, John's going to talk about his course called Stress-Free Pay Negotiation Secrets. All yours, John.
Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. It's nice to be here and nice to see all of you. I'm just curious. Put a 1 in the chat box if you've ever associated the words pay negotiation and low stress. There's nobody, right? Nobody in the history of the universe thinks that way. In fact, most people, when they think about negotiating their pay, moving from one job to another, how to answer, hey, what's your salary requirement? When those questions start coming at you, your blood runs a little bit cold. You don't know what to do. And you're facing off against somebody like me. I've been a corporate recruiter and the head of global recruiting for multiple Fortune 500s for over 30 years. So I've been the guy on the other side of the table who is closing 5, 6, 7, 8 offers a week, squaring off against candidates who change jobs a handful of times in their lifetime. So I want to tell you, if you're watching this right now, if you're new to salary negotiation, if you're a beginner at that, that's okay. That's okay, because I've got you. I'm sort of like the prosecuting attorney who has now become the defense attorney. So when I launched Salary Coach a few years ago, I decided to go on the other side of the negotiating table and help salary job seekers to get all the money they can get out of this change. When I first started researching my book, Act Your Wage, I asked a whole bunch of job seekers a whole bunch of questions and did some research, and I found out higher education has done some research on pay negotiation, and they discovered that if a person right at the beginning of their career negotiated and got an extra $5,000 in salary at the beginning of their career, that translates to over $1 million of extra lifetime earnings. If you did the same thing and got an extra $5,000, you could actually retire 8 years sooner with the same nest egg. These are kind of incredible stats. And so the question that comes up to my mind and the minds of most people who are thinking about negotiating pay is, why don't most people do this? If there's so much value in it, why do people not do it? And the answer to that is fear. Most people are afraid of losing the chance to interview, or they're afraid that that company is going to yank the offer away from them if they start poking at it or asking questions or anything like that. Now, I don't know who's in the room. I'm assuming it's a bunch of great discovery, fire breathing entrepreneurs, and maybe you don't have a job, but I will bet if you're not looking for a job yourself, you probably know someone who is looking. This course that I've created for the Great Discovery is a mirror image of the course that I've been selling for quite some time now on salarycoachacademy.com. So over on salarycoachacademy.com, I sell this course for $749. And I've had several coaches tell me, John, you're not charging enough for this. You're not. And that's because the average person who goes through this course or who is my personal private coaching clients, they're making $15,000 extra easy. If they're making 6 figures, they're leaving 10 to 15% on the table all the time. my personal best is to help a chief operating officer get an extra $600,000 in his offer package. This happened last summer. It's my new high watermark as a negotiation coach. But that guy was about to leave two low-end Ferraris on the table because he was afraid of negotiating his offer. This is a chief operating officer. So I don't care who you are, new college grad, up into the C-suite, the fear is the same, the anxiety is the same, the stakes are very high. So I've built a system of negotiating that is very reliable and it keeps the risk of losing the opportunity to almost zero. Most people also think that negotiation should be adversarial. It's like showing up, crossing swords with somebody and dueling to the death. That's what most people think negotiation is. So my system teaches that it should be a collaboration process that begins at the very first conversation. So I see somebody looking for the course. It's called Stress-Free Pay Negotiation Secrets on the Great Discovery. So I've actually chopped the price way down for Great Discovery because I want people to have access to this course and I hope that you can find it, but I'm going to show it to you. I'm just going to walk you through real quick to show you what's in there, if that is okay. There we go. All right. So hopefully you all can see. I'm taking a look here. All right, this right here is the Salary Coach Academy. It's the same course, and you can see I charge $749 a year on this site. Over here on the Great Discovery, the same exact thing, 299 bucks. So almost anyone can afford this, and the financial payback from this, even just the peace of mind of knowing how to answer these questions all through the process from phone screen to interviewing, all the way through counteroffer is incredibly worthwhile. So if you hop down into content here, there's an introduction. There's job search skills, which are about building momentum. So most of my lessons here are 5 or 6 minutes long. They're bite-sized lessons, me teaching in a video format how to do this stuff step by step in a safe way, avoiding all of the landmines. Then here in interview prep, I have a few videos in here, 4 of them on how to prepare for interviews, whether they're recorded, one-way video interviews, Zoom calls, how to overcome age bias in interviews, which is a huge thing. A huge thing. Speaking as a recruiter, I can tell you this is the one area of discrimination that is really not frowned upon. It's so commonplace, it's disgusting to me. And I just want to make sure everybody that is around the age of 50 and older, showing a little bit of gray hair, knows what to do in an interview if they suspect that they're being judged based on how old they are. Let's see, negotiation skill builders, growing your value. So this is how you're going to grow your value. There's 9 core principles in safe salary negotiation. I go over that here. There are benefits with high cash value in multiple areas that you can negotiate on. So it's a mistake to think you're just negotiating on salary. You can negotiate on bonus. I have clients that negotiate on severance even. So there are a lot of fronts you can negotiate on. How to know your worth. You need to learn how to do that. The power of competition in negotiations, that's extremely important leverage. You can go through all of these lessons and know exactly how to build your value through the course of the conversations. Then there's negotiating in the application phase. So when you go and you apply to a position, usually they're going to ask you, how much money do you want to make? What's your pay requirement? And people don't know how to answer this question to get the phone call. Well, I'll share a secret with you guys right now. What you want to do in the application is put in a number that's going to get the phone call. That's sort of a medium low number for you. Then when the phone rings, you have one chance to reshape that number. when you're in that initial screening call. So you're not going to be stuck with that number you put in the application. And so right here in negotiating in the phone screen phase, I teach people how to reframe that number you gave in the application into a range. This is a secret that most people don't understand. They lowball themselves at this step of the negotiating process because they know if they answer the pay questions wrong, they won't get the chance to interview with the hiring boss. Since you really want that job, sometimes you lowball yourself here, and then you get stuck with that number and you don't know how to back out of it. So this course teaches you all this nuance, what to say at every single step so that you can move through the process and preserve your negotiating room. Then there's negotiating in the interview phase. So you want to become the irresistible candidate here and move yourself up in your range as you're interviewing. You want them to see you as more valuable. The more you talk, the more you're worth. So I teach you how to do that here, how to get the offer and how to move up. Most people don't realize this, but before you even get an offer, there's usually an approval process that happens. The boss is going to go to a bunch of approvers, maybe their boss, maybe corporate compensation team, somebody like that. And they're going to say, I want to hire Kathy, and here's the offer I want to approve. So by the time you get that offer, it's already been through an approval process. If you have done your job right, they're approving a fairly high offer for you at this point. It's really difficult if you get a low ball offer to go back and improve it 20 or 30% because the hiring manager now has to go back through that approval process and say, I was wrong. And that's kind of embarrassing for them, so they don't like to do that. So you want to get the initial offer as right as possible, and then at the finish line, in the counter offer, you're just tweaking. This is the safe path forward. And that's what I emphasize throughout the whole thing. Then after the interview phase, you have negotiating in the offer phase. Now, this is where most people think negotiation begins. But I think negotiation is a process that starts from the very first conversation and carries through. So in the offer phase, there's a whole bunch of stuff, including, first of all, don't take the offer immediately, even if you love it. That's hard to understand because people in a job search, they want the stress to end. They don't want that uncertainty to continue on. They're just relieved to have an offer and they're afraid it'll be removed if they challenge it at all. And so they don't. 80% of the candidates that I extended offers to as a corporate recruiter accepted that offer immediately. 10% of people negotiated effectively, and another 10% negotiated very poorly, and it damaged their reputation on the way in. So don't accept that offer immediately because this, if you only remember one thing from this, the super secret thing, it's going to make perfect sense when I say this. You have the most power, the most leverage between the time when they say, we want you to have this job, and the time when you say yes to the offer. So if you say yes immediately, you give up all the sweet leverage you have in that time period. Keep in mind, they want you to say yes. Now, this is true in job offers. It's also true in contracting and other things. You've gone through a process and they've selected you. They want you to say yes. Now, kind of a core in negotiating is when someone wants something, you can ask for something in return. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And so they want you to say yes. And if you say no, what happens to them? They have to go all the way back to the beginning. Sometimes it takes them 2 or 3 months to fill the position. They're short staffed. They're feeling the pain. They don't want to do that. And so if you've proven value and you come back to them with a reasonable case and you're collaborating, not issuing an ultimatum at this point, your chances of getting everything they still have on the table is very, very high. You just have to know what questions to ask at this point, how to speak to them. And that's what this section is all about. A step-by-step process. You want to ask questions about the offer, find out what's possible, and then ultimately you'll get to the finish line, which is an offer that's good for them and great for you. Believe me, if they give you a few extra $1,000, and sometimes it's 50 or 60 extra $1,000, 2 days after you start, they'll forget they did that for you. They'll forget all about it. It's a rounding error in their budget process. So the risk can be very low if you follow the salary coach method from top to bottom all the way through. And so that is it. At the very bottom here, I have a few extra lessons on if you need encouragement. Sometimes you're discouraged in the job search. The people that you love have been beat up by this process. They've been let go. They've been laid off. They've been told they aren't good enough 100 times by 100 different companies. Sometimes you just need a little dose of encouragement, and that's in there too. And all along the path, if somebody needs extra help, they can contact me personally, and I can help them personally and privately if that's what they need. But everything they need to get from A to Z in a safe offer negotiation is right here in this course. I know that everybody here is interested in making a lot of money. I am too. I know that the people that you love and care about that are looking for work feel the same. There's nobody else who has a course like this anywhere in the world. There's nobody else that does salary negotiation coaching like I do. So, as far as I know, I'm unique. And I really need your help to promote this because if I was a resume writer, guys, everybody knows that there are resume writers. They go out to Google and they search for resume writers. Nobody knows that a pay negotiation coach or a pay negotiation course exists. As soon as the word gets out, it's going to be very big. I think this is going to be a really popular course, and it could be the one course that brings many new people into the Great Discovery. This could be the reason that they join. And of course, you all know as promoters that once somebody joins, you get a piece of that for all the other courses that they might take. And that's a good thing for you too. So I think I'm about done with the presentation here, guys. I'm going to stop this share, see if I can figure out how to do that. And I'll give you a chance to ask me anything you want because now you have a guy that's been in corporate recruiting, in HR on the other side of the table. I'm a pay negotiation coach. Whatever you want to know, what is it that you always wanted to know, but we're afraid to ask? Even if it's a secret, I'll tell you guys because you're here and I love you.
Thanks, John. I did put the link to the course in the chat for those that are looking for it, so you can just grab that. And if you have
Thanks.
questions, go ahead and either raise your hand or speak out. I have a few questions, but I will wait until others are done. Go ahead, Tim.
You're on,
You're muted.
you're muted, Tim. Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. Yep. Yeah, you're muted.
I see the mute up now. No.
Can't hear you. Something happened.
Yep.
Oh, well, we'll go to somebody. We'll go to Raymond.
Okay. So Raymond, go ahead.
Hi, Raymond.
Hi, John. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Well, I liked what you said about yourself, you being unique and all. But I'm gonna just go off track here just for a second.
Of
I
course.
see that diver's hat. Were you a diver or just a fan of being diver? What's give me the story?
There's a little story associated with that. I have a friend who runs a junk store. He's one of these guys that buys storage units and buys out people that are liquidating everything they own at estate sales. And I was at his junk store for a poker night with friends of mine, and it was there in his junk store covered in dust.
Wow, it's beautiful.
And I thought that is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. And I loved it because I knew to me it signifies pushing your boundaries.
Yeah.
Can you imagine putting something like this on and going underwater with nothing but a tube like hanging out to get
Yeah.
air. How
Yes,
like
that's
that
old
would
style. Yeah.
make you feel it. It's also adventure, and I'm a big time adventurer. I like that. It appeals to me. And it reminds me of the Scooby-Doo opening. Like, I don't know if you guys were remember that
I'm in
cartoon.
that age category.
There
Thanks for
was always
sharing
this
that.
this diver with the glowing, thing in it.
Yeah.
So it just captured my imagination. I loved it.
All right. Thanks for sharing that.
Hmm.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can, go ahead, Tim. Yeah.
Ta-da! Wow, I like it. Hey, John, I was going to say that's great. I think I agree with you. That is a red hot course. I think it's going to be just get a lot of demand. Hey, I know a lot of government people are going to be out looking for jobs pretty quick. So, it's a great way to get started and get out and,
Couple hundred
work on that
thousand of them
pay side. I
probably.
like the pay point, aspect of it. Question for you. Do you have like a free intro course that you're working on that's going to lead up to this? And do you also lead up into like consulting as an upsell, or is
Yeah.
is this your one and only course, or are you working on multiples?
This is the one and only course for right now, but I am going to have some free lead-ins. And I think what I'll do is I'll take a couple of lessons out of this course and I'll make them free just so they can get a sample of what it's going to be like inside the course. They can see how it is, the quality of the content, and at the very end, I'll add a trailer that says, hey, if you like this kind of content, the whole thing is over here, and you're going to make a lot of money if you go do the whole course. So I want to do that. I'm also working on another course which I'm giving away for free right now called Job Search Networking for Introverts. And I think that would be super cool. I don't know if I'm going to charge for that. It'll be cheap if I do bring that over to the Great Discovery, but that's something that the world needs because job seekers are told constantly they need to be networking, especially in this economy. That's terrifying to an introvert. They hate that and they don't know how to do that. And I might not look like it, but I've been a recruiter for 30 years. You would think I'd be an extrovert. I am not. I've had to do the workarounds and discover how to recruit as an introvert. And I did the same thing with networking. So great question. And I think I'll have some of those intro courses up within the next week or two just to have those in there as feeders.
Yeah, I think it'll be great, because a lot of people take the employment side and they look at it strictly from the US perspective. But what you're talking about is applicable worldwide, every country in the world. And so this is an ideal platform for you. And I
is.
think if you started off with some good feeder freebie intro courses to get people onto it, and think you're going to do real well. In fact, I'll get out and start promoting you out as myself. So that'll be awesome.
Thanks. We'll check back. Those should be up within the next week or two, and we can certainly do that. There is a little bit of nuance in negotiation in that a lot of the world has employment contracts, and that's slightly different. The U.S. is more dependent upon things like signing bonuses, for example, than the rest of the world. But the rest of the world includes things like stay bonuses and
Sure.
so on. So the concepts are the same.
Right. Very good. Thank you, John. Great job.
Sure. Thanks.
Dr. Ivanka.
Hi, Ivanka.
Hi, how are you?
Fabulous. Thank you.
Great course. I love it.
Mm.
The question I had, you said something in there, I want to make sure I heard you correctly, that had to do with maybe going too high on the offer, and I think you said something about how that can ruin your reputation going in. Is that what you said?
What I said is if somebody negotiates in the wrong way at the finish line, it can damage
Okay.
their reputation. Interestingly enough, when I was researching my book, Act Your Wage, I interviewed about 100 job seekers. Half were men and half were women. And I asked them, who do you think has the advantage in negotiating pay, men or women? And I got some interesting answers. But one thing that really stood out to me from the professional women that I interviewed is that they were more concerned about messing up the relationships on the way in if they negotiated than men were by far. Very few men recognize that as a risk. And this is something that really holds women back from negotiating their pay. They're worried that they have to be someone that they're not. They have to be adversarial. And speaking as a recruiter, I've seen many times where a hiring manager will change their mind and withdraw the offer because of the way someone negotiates. And it's always because that person's personality changed. They think they have to be adversarial and aggressive to get what they want at the negotiating table. And so they were this amazing, nice, wonderful, perfect teammate when they were interviewing. And now that they've got the offer and they're negotiating, they become Count Dracula. And the hiring manager will call me and say, John, like I interviewed Kathy and she was so nice. And now I'm seeing a different Kathy and I'm not sure which one is the real Kathy.
Uh-oh.
So I'm just not sure that, that I'm making the right decision. Let's just pull the offer. So it's really important to reset that in the minds of people that they need to be collaborative in this process and not confrontational. And if you can do that, you can not only get everything you want, but you are building relationships instead of damaging them on the way in. Does that help you?
And that's a great answer because I was wondering, I said, I don't know if I heard it right, but now it's very, very clear. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
Dr. Ivanka, go ahead, James.
Hi, James. Oops, can't hear you, buddy.
Can't hear you either.
Good to see you, good to see you again, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to seeing your course come up on the system. Are you planning on putting a Academy one up as well as some of the free ones?
Yes, that question came up already, and I will. What I'm thinking of doing is taking a couple of courses or a couple of lessons in this course and making them free, and then adding a trailer at the end to say, if you like this kind of content, if this was useful to you, there's a whole lot more where this came from, right over there.
Yeah, no, and I heard the one on the free. I mean, Academy, I know you have a higher level in-person service that you provide that sounded phenomenal when we spent time visiting about it. And so that one I'd love if you want to schedule some time on my calendar, I'd love to meet with you before you submit your free courses for approval and show you a couple neat little tricks. One where you can embed a link and a QR code on your free one that jumps them directly to your paid course.
Oh, fantastic.
Right?
Yes, let's do that.
It just it shortcuts it just like that. It's really
Makes
cool.
a lot of sense, man. Let's do that. And I do want to bring that networking for introverts course. I need to put it in recorded content because right now that's a live presentation. And it's really good. It's very practical. And I think actually it's better than just for job seekers. I think it could be good for anybody trying to build a business who might be introverted. There's a lot you can do as an introvert.
Awesome. That sounds good. Well, good to see you again and loved your presentation. That was awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you too.
Hey, James, I just want to add, and John, I want to add one thing. James, you know that we added the link functionality into the text lesson, the text box, right?
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we added the function. So when you're in a lesson, the text box at the bottom, it can be a text lesson, an audio, video, or PDF, but there's always a text box that's at the bottom that you can put in extra information. We now have a little link, and it's the little link, and you link that, and you put the link right from the platform, the course link to that, and then you can set that so it's a hot link, and it links right to the platform. You just put your course link in there. Yeah, we have that built in now. Yep.
Even easier than when I did it the last time. So that's
exactly.
great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We fixed it up. So,
but we'd help you with a QR code too if you want to do something like that as well. But that's awesome. I'm glad you did that, Sandra. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to find a way of promoting this course to those 60,000 or so people in the U.S. government that are just taking the severance. Many of those could be brand new to the Great Discovery, and it could be a good lead in to the platform.
I have to research and see if there's a way we can buy that database. There's certain information.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna seriously look into that, my friend. Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah,
Alright,
they'll be
alright.
getting severance, so they can afford it easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, I'll just part with one other thing, guys. I do private one-on-one coaching sessions with senior level people. For that, the minimum charge is $4,500, and I go as high as 30 grand on that, depending on how senior the person is. Everything that's in this course is the stuff that I discuss with those clients. Like there's nuance, there's case by case stuff, but these are the same principles that I use with senior executives to get really complex comp packages done. In the very last lesson in the offer stage is a complete walkthrough of a mock offer. They can even download the offer letter. They can look at that, and I'll walk through them one step at a time. These are the questions I would ask about this. This is how I would position my client for negotiation. This is what this client should say. And if the answer is this, then she should respond with that. It's very practical.
Great. Well, thank you so much, John. Really good information, really great course. It'll be great for us to promote. I think there's a lot of people out there that would benefit. So
Thank
with
you.
that, we're going to end this session and turn it over to Dr. Yavanka to take her session next. So thanks again, John.
I'm gonna
By
hang
the
out
way,
and
John,
watch
this will
her.
be up. This will be up for replay as soon as tomorrow. So we'll have it up.
Super.
Very good.
Well, I'm gonna
Thank you.
hang out and watch Dr. Yavanka's presentation. I want to hear what she's got to say.